Hi, welcome to another episode of Hawkeye's Squawk Box from Hawkeye's Hobbies, and I'm Gerald, owner of Hawkeye's Hobbies. In the first episode, we talked about modeling tools specifically for decaling scale models. We're going to expand on that a little bit, talking about the tools necessary to cut decals out from the sheets that they come on. Again, I have my foam pad here. I've taped it in place on my bench so it doesn't slide, which also facilitates that the cutting mat doesn't slide around when I'm doing cutting. Cutting out decals from the sheet, there's a couple ways of doing it. Look at some of the tools again that we use. We can use small surgical type scissors. Again, you need to use a tool that fits your hand that you can use. If you have a good set of sewing scissors, such as these from Fisker, which I've been using forever and ever, but my recent addition is these from Xuron. These scissors are extremely sharp. They fit my hand comfortably. The blades are a little bit shorter, and they do not wobble when you cut, so you get a very precision cut right up to the tip, which is very important when you're working and trimming decals away. Okay, you want lots of control of your scissors. So I recommend these a lot. Other tools that you'll need would be hobby knives, and I always keep a spare handy with brand new sharp number 11 blades. And then also the folks from Excel also produce this little stiletto shaped blade, which is actually designed for stencil cutting. Again, this is a very useful knife when you're cutting out decals that have a lot of intricacy curves in them. So I keep that handy as well. A little steel rule. I picked this one up at the local hardware store for a couple bucks. It's a couple dollars that's going to last me the rest of my life as a modeler. Some things laying around the shop. Some metal paint caps or paint jar lids. And then also reach into your pocket and see if you've got any loose change. Coins of different countries are usually in different sizes. The thing is, you don't want anything with a fluted edge. You want a smooth edge. And I'll show you why in just a moment. So let's just clear this off here for a second. We'll put the coins over to the side and a ruler. And let's just talk about cutting. Again, we can cut along, and this is where you need a good pair of eyes, or you need to have some magnification help and a steady hand. For those who are doing intricate cuts and are a little shaky with the scissors, or don't have a really good scissors, what you're going to want to do is use your hobby knife and this flat rule. Well, what I'm going to do is turn this around here. What I would do is I would lay the ruler over the decal, especially for straight lines. We want a straight edge, so we want just to cover up the black on the navy, and then it's just a matter of taking the knife and carefully, lightly scoring our way through. We don't want to get in there and gouge. And if you have a sharp blade, you'll know it instantly because it'll pull paper with it, which could possibly damage your decal. The other thing is we want to put the ruler, or we'll call this the fence, over the decal. And there's a reason for that. When we're cutting, should we get bumped or for whatever reason our blade go errant, we don't want it cutting into the decal. We don't mind if we waste paper because we're going to throw that away anyway. We want it to cut into the waste stock. So we put the fence over the decal. Now if I was doing it this way, in the wrong way, and tried to make that cut and I slipped, well, I'd ruin a decal and would have some frustrations. The coins come into play when you're doing curved surfaces, like on these stars and bars. Well, you find the coin that closest matches the angle and the same curvature as the star and bar, and again hold it down, lightly score around it until you're through the decal and through the paper, and you've protected the decal and you've got a nice clean line to remove any of the carrier material. Then what you would do is go back with your steel rule, again laying it over the decal to protect it. Now what I would do here is I would start at the intersection where my curve cut ends and pull away. Work away from the intersection. Flip it over, go to the other side. Again, get it lined up best you can, working from the intersection, and work away. Now the reason we do that is if you were trying to cut into the intersection, you may slip and go into the decal. We don't want to cut the decal. We just want to trim the carrier material away. The less carrier material you have between lettering, between the different decorations like these stars next to the bees here, the less silvering you're going to have. You got to remember, when these are applied to an aircraft, they're applied two different ways. On a real aircraft, they're either painted on with stenciling, or they're a large special material vinyl decal. And the vinyl decal, and I have an image of one which I'll also include in the post, of a sack crest that would have been used on a KC-135. It has lots of little holes, and there's not a lot of, there's no flash around it, but they're specially made for aircraft. So when you put markings on a model, you want it to be realistic. They don't have all this carrier in between. Now a lot of us will use solvents to make that disappear, but on some of these decals it's pretty tough to do. Some of the better quality decals, it does disappear quite a lot better than some of the cheaper decals, but if you can remove it, do so. I'm also going to include a link to a video that a gentleman in Japan who is building an F-15 Strike Eagle, he actually shows in the video how he actually trims these decals after they're applied to the model. It's a technique that requires practice. It's a technique that you must get comfortable with to do right, because you can both ruin the decal and the model if you don't know what you're doing. I've done it enough now, I think I'm pretty comfortable with, and I'm going to start doing it more and more on my future builds. So there we have the cutting tools necessary to remove the decals from the sheet. In the next installation of this series, we'll get into getting the decals wet into some water, and we'll start applying them to the models. So until next time, it's Gerald with Hawkeye's Hobbies, and appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.